If you're watching this video because you typed into YouTube how to make a baby quilt and this came up, perfect, you're in the right place. Stick around. If you didn't, and you actually have no intention of making a baby quilt, take a knee. Let's talk. Maybe there's a part of you that is curious about how things are made. Maybe there's a part of you who just wants to be entertained. I think there might be another little part of you that actually does want to make a baby quilt. There's a lot of deep satisfaction that comes from making things, and you have to make bad things before you can make good things. But really, who's here to judge you? Certainly not a baby. So it's a great place to start. Here's the rundown of this project. We'll be using a quilting pattern called Helios from the Athena Workshop, but also deviating from it. This pattern uses the ribbon star quilting block, and it can scale up and down depending on the size of the quilt you want to make. The first time I used this pattern, I made a 2x2 grid, and the second time I did it, I made a 3x3 grid. The 3x3 is exponentially more work than the 2x2 grid, but both are lovely, and all babies have seemed satisfied. For this beginner-friendly project, we're going to make a 2x2 square grid. Based on the fabric I will be using, this is roughly what it will look like. This mock-up was not made by AI, it was made by me, which is why it looks mid. Fabric selection is an important part of the creative process, so we'll touch on that next. Something I gathered from my past experiences using this pattern is that I think it looks best when it's very high contrast. So you pick a light and a dark and let them play against each other. It's advised to use cotton because it doesn't stretch, but you can really use anything.
Well, this is what I do. You can do whatever the you want to do.
And so for my light color, I'm using this creamy, canvasy cotton. And for my dark color, I'm actually using two different dark colors because that's the fun thing about sewing. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules. So I'm going to use this blue and white gingham and this really fine gingham as my two dark colors. And then you'll put a fabric on the back, so that might be one of the other colors, but I'm going to use this thicker blue with a little bit of a pattern. I think this might withstand more trauma if they want to like put it out on the grass or something. This will be a mobile blanket. Let's get sewing. No, we're not there yet. Quilting is really three different skills: cutting, ironing, and sewing. And it's honestly mostly cutting and ironing. So cutting is a really important step that we will do next. It would behoove you to try to perfect each of these skills and approach them with as much precision as you can muster. I'm not a naturally precise person. I struggle with precision, but with quilting, you really got to try to channel it. So I am just pretending that I am Elle Woods, okay? I am, the girl from Election, and really any Reese Witherspoon character from the early days, or not Melanie Carmichael. She has a little bit of a storied past. Actually, no, she is a fashion designer. So actually, we definitely can channel her too. So any Reese Witherspoon character, new and old, she's got her stuff together, to say the least. Well, I've been sewing since middle school. I actually haven't touched quilting until this past year. And I think that's just because quilting is a little intimidating. Like, it has its own rules and lingo. If you're a total beginner to quilting and you want to learn all the foundational steps one at a time, I would recommend checking out Skillshare, who's a sponsor of today's video. There's a really wonderful 4-part series called Quilting for Beginners by Julie Ray Vignola. I took it to brush up on my quilting skills, and it's incredibly thorough. Julie teaches in a calm and sincere way. She's a pleasure to watch. And I've actually used Skillshare for a lot of other things too. Back in college, I got really into data visualization, and I was scouring the web for good courses that would teach me that skill set. And one that still sticks in my mind that I found was by Nicholas Felton on Skillshare. And it's Introduction to Data Visualization, but with a pen and paper approach. So you start with a newspaper and you find not only the story for the data visualization, but the data itself from the newspaper. There's classes like that on Skillshare that are just really unique and thoughtful by people who are experts, but taught in a way that is informal and approachable. And the first 500 people to use the link in the description or the QR code on the screen will get a free month of Skillshare. So go check it out. Thanks for sponsoring this video. Since cutting is our first step, let's take a look at the cutting list. My Vanna White moment. For dark fabric number 1, we'll need 8 4x4 inch squares and 3 9x9 inch squares. For dark color number 2, we'll need 3 9x9 inch squares. And for And for the light fabric, we'll need 4 and for the light fabric, I just can't do this. And for the light fabric, we'll need 8 4x4 inch squares and 6 9x9 inch squares. That's the entire cutting list for the front face of the quilt. The back we'll just slap on at the end, which is actually a pretty short cutting list. And how we're going to manage getting away with such a short cutting list is that those 9x9 inch squares are actually going to produce 8 HSTs. So you might be wondering, what is an HST? Let me go find one. So this is an HST, a half square triangle. And this is the building block for this quilt, and I think pretty much most quilts. And this will kind of be, you can kind of think of it as like 1 pixel in the image. And so we'll need to make a lot of these. So when we cut our 9x9 inch blocks, there's a bit of a hack where you put 2 9x9 inch squares together, and with them you can produce 8 of these. After ironing, cut your fabric to size according to the cutting list. I'm not going to micromanage you on this one, you've got this. But I will say having a cutting mat and a rotary blade are both very helpful and will make this quick and precise. And while you're at it, treat yourself to a fresh blade. You're worth it. To make your HSTs, first draw a big X across each of the light colored 9x9 inch squares. Then pair each light 9x9 inch square with a dark 9x9 inch square with the X facing up and pin or clip all the way around. Here's the exciting part, we're sewing, but we're not sewing directly on the line. Instead, we're going to line up our presser foot right along the edge of the line, and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance on either side of the line. So we'll repeat on both sides of the line for both lines of the X. Once sewn, your square will look something like this double cross shape. Next, we're going to cut along the lines that you drew on both diagonals, and then we're going to cut each of those smaller triangles in half, and that is how we create our HSTs. After that, all that's left is to iron them open and trim off the little corners that were left over. This produces the exact number of HSTs we need for this quilt, which is deeply pleasing to my brain. And yes, this step is tedious. Honestly, most quilting steps are tedious, but really, what would you rather be doing on a Tuesday night at 8:30? I prefer to assemble the blocks one at a time, though there are other ways to do it. First, I lay out the entire block right side up. I'll put the mock-up here again for your reference. Then I split it into 4 separate vertical lines. After that, I pin the squares right sides together down each line. Before sewing, I line up the squares one more time and then sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I don't backstitch. I open everything up immediately to make sure the diagonal lines intersect in a way that I can tolerate. If not, I'll just seam rip and try again. I can pretty much guarantee not every seam is going to come out perfect, unless you're like some quilting god, and if so, why are you watching this YouTube video? Whether or not you seam rip depends a lot on your personality. If you are a perfectionist, I would say seam rip your worst ones and then try to keep moving. And if you're someone who lets stuff slide, at least seam rip a few of the worst offenders. Next, we're going to iron our seams in alternating directions to reduce bulk. I'll iron the first strip down, then the second strip up, and continue alternating all the way across. Then we just need to finish the assembly. We'll pin each pair of strips together, right sides to right sides. We'll leave the center seam for the final step. At this stage, I prefer to use pins instead of clips because you can sew over them. Things are getting a little more real now. We're sewing both of the halves together. And so I put a single pin in the center to align one of the most important sections, and we're just gonna go for it. Stay with me here, we're almost done. Next, we'll press each half open. I like to finger press so I can really spread the seams open before going in with the iron. Then we'll pin the two halves together, focusing especially on the spots where the points meet. Once everything's lined up, we'll sew the final seam to finish the block and then give it one last press. We have all 4 of our quilt blocks done, and now we're at that critical point where we get to sew together the final quilt top. So I'm gonna give everything a press. I'll join these 2 blocks together, these 2 blocks together, and then finally we'll sew both halves together. All I really care about is making sure these points line up nicely. So when I flip it over and pin, I'll be really focused on making sure those points are nicely aligned, and I'll pin in those 2 places. Everything else will just be what it will be. There it is. Now, I'll be the first to say it's not perfect, but I am glad that it exists. Unfortunately, we are not done. We cannot hand this thready mess to a baby. We need to baste with batting and create a quilt sandwich. Then finally, we'll need to put a little trim on the edge. It's time to assemble our quilt sandwich. The bread of our quilt sandwich is the quilt top and the backing fabric. I'm using this blue twill as my backing. The meat of our sandwich is the batting, which is this fluffy cotton that gives the quilt its cozy blanket-like texture. When cutting your batting and your backing, give yourself what we in the business call a little wiggle room. Cut them generously. Things can shift while you're quilting. To assemble the sandwich, lay the backing fabric right side down, then the batting, and finally the quilt top right side up. Take a minute to smooth everything out and get it as flat as possible. Next, we'll need to baste, which means temporarily attaching these 3 layers together so they don't move around while we're quilting. There's a few different ways to do this. You can use a basting spray, safety pins, or hand stitch. I'm going to baste by hand, which is called tacking. I'll sew through all 3 layers and make a little loop without knotting it, and repeat that every hand's width distance across the quilt. It's enough to hold everything in place, and it's easy to remove later. And now we're ready for the final quilting step, where we sew all 3 layers together. I'm quilting along the diagonal of the quilt, first making a big X, then adding 1 more quilting line through the center of each block. That gives me a total of 3 diagonal quilting lines running in each direction. As I sew, I'm taking it slow and always aiming for the center of the next intersection. There's so many different ways to quilt. It's another creative choice that can have a big impact on the final look and feel of your quilt. I also like to sew all the way around the outer edge to lock everything in place. This footage is sped up 35 times. In real life, definitely take your time and do your best to keep the quilt flat as you sew. This is one of the stages where fabric can shift and bunch if you're not careful. And finally, you'll cut off the excess. I don't know why I'm holding this fabric like Kendall Jenner cutting the cucumber, but it is what it is. All that's left to do is attach the bias tape to the quilt and bind it up. And that's been an Achilles heel for me in my last few attempts. When I sew it on the machine, the top looks fine, but the bottom kind of shifts and the thread comes through in an odd place. And so I asked my friend Sarah, who is a quilter and comes from a family of quilters, if she had any recommendations for getting that step right. And she recommended either gluing it with fabric glue, which I imagine would be more for like a wall hanging or something that's not going to be as actively used as a baby quilt, or hand stitch it. So I'm going to try hand stitching this one, even though I am morally opposed to hand sewing in most scenarios. You can purchase bias tape, and I considered using some that I already own for this project, but 1, it was a little too thin, and 2, I don't think it looks as cool as like a fabric that's just perfect for the project. I think the pattern bias tape looks really nice. You can just make this yourself. So what you need to do is figure out how wide you want it to be. For this project, I want it to be a 1/2 inch wide. So you have to quadruple that. So I cut 2-inch strips. You want it to be the length of the full perimeter of the project. If you don't have fabric that's long enough, you can just sew strips together. Bias tape is supposed to be cut on the bias, which is like the diagonal, but I talked to the powers that be and they said it was fine. Once you have your 2-inch strips, you can fold the strip in half and iron, and then you'll go through and unfold that and fold each side to the center and iron. And then finally fold that in half. Basically, you have something that is a 1/2 inch wide, folded in half with no exposed edges. This baby quilt is for my nephew, and his brother got a baby quilt for me that shares one common fabric, which I think is really cute. And I hope this is a contender for Blanky. That's a big honor. It might be a little too stiff for that, but maybe I'll chuck it in the wash and see if it softens up. And while it's imperfect, once you take a big step back and squint, all those imperfections kind of fade away.